Okay, Chevy RC here. Now let's talk about the build. I'm not going to use the light. I'm going to use this light. And I'll show it again. That light. So, so I'm going to say this build was hard, and I just, you know, let's just go through it. Well, I know I didn't really finish it. The turnbuckles are not right, and the shock springs, the coils are not right. And I don't have the electronics and stuff like that. And I don't have the body, cut it and paint it and all that. But let's talk about the build. So let's go to the first page. Oh, the tools. So yeah, let's get into tools. So I use my dynamite tools. So these were the ones I used. Now the one I was missing was the 1.3. So basically what I used was this L-shaped Allen wrenches. That's what I used. And I also used this. I used this. This is what it came with the kit. And it also came with this in the kit. So these were the ones I had to use as well. And I did use pliers. Basically, not cutters. I used needle nose. That's what I used for the turnbuckles. I know it's not the right thing to do, but yeah, they're all kind of scratched up right here. Well, I used it on the shock shafts, which it wasn't a great idea, but that's what I had. Okay, well, speaking of shocks, so the shock build. That took me at least 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes just for the shocks alone because I was confused on a couple of things. So you have what was that? Oh, okay, right there. So you get an O-ring right there, and it kind of points in two directions. This kind of points in all this right here. It goes in there. But there's two arrows, so this O-ring. So I tried a couple things. So I tried this O-ring in that hole. It would not go in that hole. So I tried the outside hole because that O-ring's pretty big. Now you already have pretty much. I think these are called X-rings. You got 1, 2. Then you got a bushing right there. Then you got a little plastic bushing right here. Then you got a cover. So that will seal it. Now this O-ring right here, I put it around pretty much where the shock body's at, and then this would pretty much just cover that, pretty much. So that's what I did, and so that kind of confused me for a second. And the shock pistons, it didn't tell me which way direction it did, so basically, here we got some shock pistons. Okay, so it'll show you numbers on the top, which I know my phone is really hard to see. You won't be able to see it, maybe. But you get some numbers on the top, and then some dots on the bottom. Well, I did the dots on the top. That's what I did. I don't know if I did it on all of my shocks, but to be honest, the only difference on both sides is pretty much the numbers and the dots. That's really it. There's no the center line or the flat spot on the other side. There's none of that. So if I did flip them, then oh well, it's not going to change anything. So the shock shafts. Oh yeah, the shock shafts. So it told me. Oh yeah, here's the diagram. So it told me to go up here, which I was able to do that, but it was just kind of hard. So yeah, I used the needle nose pliers to hold that. I had to spin it back and forth. So the shocks were kind of hard. They were kind of a little confusing, but whatever. The diff went in okay. Sorry, I'm a little sick still. The diff went in okay. The diff took me about 10 minutes, maybe even 15. Oh, I don't know if I said this, but this whole car build took me 12 hours. Just because I kept putting things on backwards, I was confused all the time. So this right here took me about 10 to 15 minutes. The one thing that was hard was getting all these shims and then the gears into there without it, just falling apart itself. And also the pin. Okay, so when you get this shaft in, once it gets in there, the pin. Now this was the hardest part. So you gotta get a pin through here, that's inside the diff gear, and it's a pain in the butt. That's the one that was kind of hard to do. So the diff went okay. Now the turnbuckles were a pain in the butt. I didn't have any calipers with me, so I pretty much used a 1-1 diagram. Now I know this is not a true 1-1 diagram, but it's close enough to where like I can install the turnbuckles. I know my rears are the worst, but at least my front end, my toe links were okay. I still need to adjust them. And then I was kind of confused. Oh, like I was confused. Like, okay, what's the notch? Which one goes on the left and right? Come on, phone. There we go. Which one that goes left and right? Now I use this as a I used this as a guide, but I actually found out it was wrong because the notches were actually different from right here. They were actually in the opposite direction with these ball cups, so yeah, that was a pain. This was the true guide right here. If you could tell from right here, I actually looked at it very closely. This one's kind of a little wrong, but whatever. You can't use everything as a guide. You just gotta use like maybe in here. So that took me a long time. The turnbuckles were a pain. This was easy. This one was easy. Now the sway bar. Now the sway bar I kind of need a little help on. Damn, I have to get it too light. Okay, so the sway bar. Dang it. So here's a sway bar right here. Now I want you to tell me if my sway bar is upside down or not. Because for one thing, dang. Okay, so you see that thing that's in there sideways, and I was like, why is it in sideways? I got the ball stud on the right A arm, and then another thing, it has this angle going on. Like I can flip it upside down and it'll angle down. Tell me if I'm angled correctly, because if I do need to flip the sway bar upside down, I'm pretty much gotta take a lot of this apart. Now you can see from the back it's kind of angled up. Tell me if am I correct or not. If I'm not correct, then I might have to do some work and flip that sway bar, the other direction. So I just got the sway bar in. I never built the sway bar before, so that's what I guessed. The manual, it doesn't even tell you well if it angles up or down. I was kind of looking at this saying, hey, maybe it angles up. So I don't know if it's correct, because heck, it kind of works, I guess. I know what sway bar is supposed to do, but it's not working, or at least it doesn't seem like it, because, well, sway bar's not supposed to work like 100%. It's supposed to keep the car flatter in turns, but whatever. So sway bar was a little confusing. Oh, that was a little bit of an issue. So so we mount these rear wing mount into the shock tower. So you get these nuts into the notches, but when you screw it in from the shock tower into the wing mount, those nuts actually tend to spin inside it. Now, I had the nuts correctly in, but all four of them, whenever I tighten it, the nuts will spin inside it. It's almost like the plastics are inside it are either slightly too large or they're slightly too soft. And I was able to tighten them, but it was kind of a little hard to. So I ran into that problem, which that wasn't too bad. The transmission was confusing. I couldn't figure out. Well, this one was easy, but this one I kind of looked at. I was like, how am I supposed to get this in? It looks like a bunch of pieces right there. It was just me. I was kind of confusing. And then when I came to here, so you get the three different plates, right? So he gave you two black ones and one's pretty much non-colored one. So one right there, and one right there. So what I did was I put two black ones on the edge and one non-color one, pretty much a complete flat one in the middle, because the manual didn't tell me where, but it didn't tell me where to put the flat one in. So I put the flat one in the middle. So whatever. It works fine. The spur gear's already in there. The slipper clutch fine. Oh, this slipper clutch nut. Oh man, hot bodies. Why? So when I tried to put the slipper clutch nut in there, but the shaft was so short and the spring was so big to where I couldn't get the nut in. So what I did, I took my pliers. The lighting. So I took my pliers and I squished that spring. So I squished it a couple of times, like this with the pliers, so the spring will shrink a little bit, and that's the only way I could get that nut in. So I may have weakened the spring a little bit, but at least I was able to get the nut in. And it tells you 6 turns to loosen it. Now, is that full turns? Or is that like half turn? Just do it like this to make it a half turn. Because 6 turns, like full turns, if it's like that, then either, heck, I don't know, 6 turns seems to be very, like, a lot. Because it tells me, collapse this all the way, and then bring it back 6 turns. And that's what I did. So, heck, I don't know. That slipper, if it if it works perfectly the way I want it to, then that slipper clutch is awesome. You could back it off by 6 turns and it had it still working. That's pretty cool. This one was okay, nothing wrong there. This one was fine, nothing wrong there. Try to see. This I kept on putting out backwards, where I had this. You know what? The car won't help. The car's too black. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell the car's very black. Well, in paper, kind of already shows you. So I kept moving this plate on backwards, where the positives over there, dots were over there. I switched these on backwards. I just kept screwing up, and then ball stops going backwards. So That was my fault. It was not the manual's fault. It was just my fault. Um, so that was easy. This one was easy, but kept screwing up. It was just my fault. Nothing by the manual's fault. So most of the build was just very easy. It's just my screw of putting things on backwards. Oh, this is what I want to talk about too. The mounting system is different and weird. I'm not kidding you. On the A-arm, so you got a metal plate that is right here. You go in, you put 4 screws in there, and then you put these 2 bushings around it. Put a pin in, put a nut in, and then you get 2 screws go into the bulkhead. That is the most craziest idea to mount an A-arm. Well, other brands like TLR and Associated, I got this car out for example. So, you got a pin, right? That is a capture screw that goes into the bulkhead. And then you get the shock for 1 screw, and then 1 screw to mount the steering knuckle. You know, right? Just like that. And then other brands is probably like just 3 screws. You know, 1 right here, 1 on the shock, and 1 on the knuckle. But here, it's just different. Sorry, but here, it's just different. Like, oh my god. Oh, and the diff is different too. Or I'm at the drivetrain. Well, of course, the rear A-arms are going to be the same as front. Instead, you got washers that can affect your towing and track width. And then, now here is crazy. So you have a cover that goes right here. You know, you have a 2-piece transmission where you take the halves apart, and there you go, you're inside transmission. Well, here is different. So you take off this plate, you know, this top plate for the ball studs. And then you take off the bottom screws. Then there's maybe other screws. Then you pull this out. Then the diff is already accessed, so you don't have to take the whole thing apart, which I think is really cool. Because if you have a leaky gear diff or anything like that, gear stripped or whatever, you can access your diff. And that's really cool. Like, there's so many... Sorry. There's so many things in this car that's just built just cool. It's just different and cool. I don't know, it's just Hot Body's way being different because I know it's a European brand compared to like American brand like Team Losi Racing and Team Associated over there. Like, I don't know. Okay, that was easy. Mounting the shocks. Now here, this is also weird because all you have is the boot to install it, which that's kind of a little hard because you got a tiny little hole. You have to get through that pin and around it without tearing it up. And then to like put this together, you get that little crush thing. On that right there means put like black grease. I didn't know, but I thought, hey, let's just put black grease right there. So you get that in, you get this in, and it holds by a pin. That's it. It holds by 1 pin that's holding this whole thing apart. Holding this whole thing. But the other thing that actually holds the pin is the oversized bearing that goes over it. And that's it. So if, let's just say your rear hub comes apart, it breaks or whatever, and then this drive shaft pops out, that pin's going to fly out. So I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a problem as long as, you know, your rear hub don't break or stuff like that. So this is what I meant. Like the oversized bearing kind of covers that. It's the only thing that holds the pin. And the same with the rear hexes. It only holds by a pin once you put the wheel on and get the nut on. That is it. So if your wheel comes loose, then the wheel flies up. Then bye bye pin. I don't know. It's just different. Everything's on. Ooh, caster blocks. Now this I love. This is this is on my go kart where you have your caster block, um, like it's mounting right here. You know, my go kart, my caster block mounts to the chassis, while the caster block mounts to the, I guess you would call it a spindle. I'm trying to look at the car. Yes, I guess you could say spindle. No, it's oh wait, it's two different caster blocks. I guess ball stud holder. I don't know, but you can adjust it by loosening the two screws right here, and you can adjust it back and forth. And it goes from -63036, and I think that's cool. That's very cool. I mean, no other manufacturer does that except for you got inserts that goes into your spindle, but that's it. And then some manufacturers actually don't even have a caster setup changing thing. So this I really like. Once again, it's different from everything else. Uh, that was easy. This was easy. Um, yeah, there's really nothing to talk about here. Oh, again with the front axle. Oh, actually, I'd go on this page. The front axles too. Once again, it's just a pin until you get the wheel and then the wheel nut on. This I didn't get to because I don't have double-sided tape for the servo and then the servo plate. And then you got your sideways battery strap, which I wish they would give you the option to like mount your battery straps different. But I do know that they give you this play right here, but you have to get a lengthwise battery strap conversion kit. Basically, you get different battery straps with different linkage that's longer, so it can mount, in line. But you still keep. I guess you can still keep this battery strap. I don't know. I know all I know is that you replace that and that too. So I don't know. Uh, so the motor goes on, the gear cover goes on. Oh, the gear cover is different too. T-Mostly Racing and Associated. Oh, it's just two screws mounting the gear cover. Well, this one again is different. You get two screws that are on the top right here. Then you get two screws that go behind it. Or is it three? Okay, so it's two screws right here and two screws right here. That's just different. I don't know. It's so weird. The wheels just go on. That's it. Well, your battery and of course trim the body, which I didn't do, which I don't have anything to trim the body with. And then I'm guessing do the Velcro, and that's it. So so the build took 12 hours. Well, the shocks and turnbuckles and the diff took about nearly 2 hours, but everything else took so long is because the bell crane's kept it on backwards. The front bumper I kept taking it off and off because the pieces that go inside it, it's just so many things are just different about this buggy than any other car that I ever had. Like say like Team Mostly Racing for example, you got your bull kit, you got your hinge pin brace, you got your front bumper, you got your A arms, then you got some shims, and there you go. While here, Um, get your arrows going this way. You got two little things that go inside it. You got like other things like this top plate that goes on weird. It's just so many things. There's rear shock, front shock tower. That's the way he's mounted. It's just so different. Is that I'm not used to it. So if I would have focused on the manual more and not screwed up so many times and done my turnbuckles a little bit better, I would have got this at least 8 to 10 hours. So like 2 to 4 hours less if I would have done it correctly. The first time, every time. So if I was going to give this build rating, I'm going to give it uh, so hard because so many things are different. Nothing's really wrong with the manual. So based off of manual of not making mistakes or nothing like that, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Um, there's really nothing wrong. I don't know what else to say, but well, that's really it. All I have to say. But next time, if I build something that's completely different, I will make sure I'll pay attention and everything. So, the electronics, I don't know what to put in. I don't have the money to get uh stuff put in this car yet. So all this just gonna be a shelf clean for now. So 10 out of 10 build as in for manual, but for things that just seem so different and not me being used to it, I'll give it an 8 just because everything's so different. Um, so that's it, Chevy RC. Peace.